Okay. Call to order the Ames Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting of Wednesday, February 12th, 2020. The Zoning Board of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial board created by the City of Ames. The board's purpose is to decide on applications for home occupation permits, special use permits, exceptions, and variances to the zoning ordinance, applications for conditional use permits in the floodplain, requests for reasonable accommodation because of a handicap, and appeals of the decisions of the zoning enforcement officer. As a board, we welcome all testimony. We make our decisions based on the facts and evidence as allowed under city code and presented in open meeting. If the proceedings become lengthy, we may ask that testimony be focused on new facts or evidence not already presented. We ask that you come to the microphone up here if you wish to speak so that your testimony will be audible and may be recorded. Before speaking, please complete an orange information card and hand it to our recording secretary. Do you want to wave? They're on the table over there. When you are testifying, please address your remarks to the board. We also ask that the proceedings be orderly. The Zoning Board of Adjustment is an independent volunteer board of citizens. We are not part of the city and administration. We are served in our efforts by Vicki Fielmeyer, Assistant City Attorney, Eloise Sahlstrom, and Benjamin Campbell, city planners, and Jackie Higgins, our recording secretary. The order of proceedings for each application will be as follows. First, an oral statement summarizing the issues and procedural steps will be presented by the staff. Second, testimony and evidence will be presented by the applicant. Third, testimony may be heard from any members of the public who wish to speak in support of or opposition to the appeal. Next, the board will give the applicant and city staff an opportunity to present concluding summaries and arguments. And finally, the board will discuss the issues and evidence and come to a decision. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the meeting of January 22nd. Are there any corrections or changes to the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes of January 22nd, 2020.
Second.
That is a motion by Perkins, a second by Amar. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Abstain.
Okay. So the minutes are approved. The next item is a special use permit for guest lodging to allow a vacation lodging use for the property located at 428 Ash Avenue within the RL Residential Low Density Zoning District. Benjamin.
Good evening. The requested special use permit for guest lodging is to allow a vacation lodging use in a single-family detached home located at 428 Ash Avenue. The site is located within the RL Residential Low Density Zoning District. Vacation lodging is a term that applies to the use of a single-family dwelling as guest lodging, which is a short-term lodging rather than a household living. There are currently 4 legal bedrooms existing in the dwelling unit, as indicated by the applicant and by the rental housing inspector files. The property does have a 4-year letter of compliance that was issued on May 22nd, 2019, and is due to expire on May 22nd of 2023. The property includes a 2-car garage, attached garage, with an extended driveway of approximately 45 feet that will allow for additional stacked driveway parking spaces that do meet the minimum dimensions of 9 by 19. The driveway is paved. The zoning ordinance that was revised last month allows for stacked parking to count towards the minimum parking requirement. And the applicant does have the minimum amount of parking, which is 4 spaces, 1 space per bedroom. At this time, there are no licensed vacation lodging or single family or 2-family properties within 1,000 feet of this lot. The property will qualify for the exemption, the 1,000-foot exemption, if the special use permit is approved and if the application for guest lodging is received within 30 days of the SUP approval. Notification was made to all property owners within 200 feet, and a notice of public hearing was placed on the property and published in the newspaper. I didn't receive any emails or letters. I did receive 1 phone call, though, about this application. The Zoning Board of Adjustment can approve this request for a special use permit for guest lodging by adopting the findings and conclusions as noted in the report with the following stipulations reflective of the Municipal Code guest lodging standards. And that is with an off-street paved parking space of 4, maximum number of guest bedrooms allowed 4, maximum number of adult guests allowed 4, 1 year of disuse rendering the special use permit expired and void, and that the special use permit is not transferable to any subsequent owner of the property. And staff does recommend approval of this special use permit.
Thank you. Are there any questions, board? Okay. If the applicant is here and would like to speak to their request, they may do so now. Anyone here for?
I don't have comments on this.
Okay, are you the applicant?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, please come up then. Please state your name and address then.
Harrison Game and
Okay.
428 Ash Avenue.
Great. And do you swear to tell the truth?
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have comments unless members have questions.
Any questions for the applicant?
No.
Okay. Anything you want to add?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Thanks so much.
And thanks to Benjamin. He helped quite a bit just answering the questions clearly. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak to this request tonight? Seeing no one moving towards the microphone, we can close the public hearing, and it's back to city staff or the applicant if they wish to add anything or any additional questions from the board for them. Okay, then we can entertain a motion.
Move alternative number 1.
Second.
It's a motion by Bowers, a second by Perkins. Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
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 The motion is declared approved. Any person desiring to appeal this decision to a court of record may do so within 30 days after the filing of this decision. Okay.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is a special use permit for guest lodging to allow a vacation lodging use for single-family property located at 2305 Fillmore Avenue within the RL Residential Low Density Zoning District. Eloise?
So this property is located just south of 24th Street, which is the street on the north of the drawing, at the top of the drawing. It's a single-family residential property. It has, so the request is for special use permit for guest lodging to allow vacation lodging use in a single-family detached home located at 2305 Fillmore Avenue. The site is located with the RL Residential Low Density Zoning District. It's a 4-bedroom house. The applicant is requesting approval of all 4 bedrooms for guest lodging. And the applicant had requested a maximum occupancy of 5, which is not permitted. So the recommendation is to approve this property for no more than 4 adults, which is what is permitted under the municipal code. So the approval would include a stipulation limiting it to the 4 adults for the 4-bedroom house. The applicant has described their operations. They also are able to accommodate, they have a 2-car garage, and they have a wide 19-foot driveway with approximately 25 feet in length that will accommodate the 4 required vehicles that are needed to approve it for 4 bedrooms. The property has a 2-year letter of compliance that was issued in 2019, and it will expire next year in July. The property is not within any other, there's no other vacation lodging units licensed in this area. As a matter of fact, this is the first one of this type on the north side of town. The applicant did include with their application a listing of neighbors that supported their application. The applicant also stated that they had a good relationship with the neighbors and that the neighbors, they've asked the neighbors to participate in letting them know if they had any concerns. Staff does recommend approval of alternative number 1, which is that the zoning board of adjustment can approve this request for a special use permit for guest lodging at 2305 Fillmore Avenue to allow a vacation lodging use in the RL residential low density zoning district by adopting the findings and conclusions noted in the report with the following stipulations reflective of the Ames Municipal Code guest lodging standards, which would be off-street paved parking spaces required, 4, maximum number of guest bedrooms allowed, 4, maximum number of adult guests allowed, 4, 1 year of disuse will render this special use permit expired and void. The special use permit is not transferable to any subsequent owner of the property. Additionally, operation of the vacation lodging use is subject to the requirements of the Ames Municipal Code, including the rental code and the guest lodging code. Receipt and annual renewal of a guest lodging license is required. Operation of a guest lodging use without an active guest lodging license is a violation of city code. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay. Is the applicant here? You'd like to speak to this? You can do so now. Your
Hi.
name and address, please.
Randy All. I'm the caretaker of 2305 Fillmore.
Okay.
My wife is the owner.
Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
The only thing I had to say was alternate 1 is fine. I mean, we had 5 in there at that point. I guess I was understanding 5 was fine, especially with the 4-bedroom and so on. But we'll put all the stipulations in the setup with what we have. So alternative 1 is fine with us.
Okay, great.
All right. Thank
Are
you.
there any questions?
I just wanted to, well, I guess the question isn't for him, it's for staff, so I'll wait.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public wishing to address this request?
I would like to.
Great. Name and address, please.
David Francis, 2213 Fillmore. I live 2 houses down from the ad. The
Okay,
first
do you
I knew
swear to
about-
tell the truth?
Oh, yes, I do. I'm
Thank you.
sorry. The first I heard of this was when I got the letter from the city, and I'm 2 houses down from it. And I grew up in Ames, and part of the reason I bought the house where I did, because it's low density residential. I really didn't want to get involved in like campus town, and it seems like you're changing a residential area into a commercial zone. I mean, we're going to have people in and out. Most people that live there have lived there for years. So I guess I'm just a little upset about it. I'd rather not see it. That I don't have any grounding. I've never been to one of these before. I just live 2 houses down from it. And I know a lot of the problems they have out in campus town, and I just don't want to see it in our neighborhood. So that's all I came down to say.
Okay,
So thanks.
thank you. Are there any other members of the public wishing to address this? Hello. Name and address, please.
Jordan Gillespie, 2308 Fillmore.
Okay. And do you swear to tell the truth?
Yes.
Okay.
So my husband and I own the home that is across the street, directly diagonal. So much like the gentleman before us, our first notice of this was the public notice that was mailed to us. I do understand that they did obtain some neighborhood support, but yet we were not contacted or we weren't home. So I guess my feeling on this is just being protective of my property and my home environment. We bought into the neighborhood to establish relationships in a neighborhood community. And so there's a little bit of concern of not knowing who's coming and going continually. Also, we did look at some of the Airbnb online reviews, and one of them said that they slept 12 people and 4 teens. And so I don't know if they exceeded the 4 or 5 adults, whatever it would have been, but that seems like 12 people total. So I don't know how many adults would have been there. Like, I just don't know how you can regulate that, like how you would know how many people stayed there. Yeah, so just, I'm not sure that I fully support it. I'm not sure that I fully oppose it. I'm just a little concerned and want to be protective of myself and my property.
Mhm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address this request from the public? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Now it's time for the staff and the applicant, if they'd like to share anything else, or us to ask questions of them.
I would like to, well, I'll wait until.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
A couple of things on it. I know there was, she was talking about the 16 one. That was actually the old folks home that's there, right there. They actually had a grandma that passed away. And so pretty much everybody came in, and it was an overnight deal, just for the family gathering and stuff like that. We've been pretty particular on what it is. And with the Airbnb, they're pretty much set up. I don't know if you've been through it, but they're pretty much set up, and they have them sign up. And if there's any issues with it, they're actually kicked off the system completely. So if we have any complaints on it, if they have so many complaints, they actually get kicked out. We're there every week. Family uses it for birthday gatherings, holiday gatherings, Christmas, things like that, because we're a family of 32. I mean, if you include all the grandkids and stuff like that. So, but we do use it for that reason. That's why we want to keep it. So, and we're pretty tight knit with everybody. I know there's a couple new people in the area and stuff like that, but we're here to talk to them if we need to. So.
And so again, it's the maximum of 4
Right.
is required.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
of
And
adults.
there was no stipulation before,
Right.
because technically it didn't exist. And we understand that. And we'll actually put that on the Airbnb setup and everything. So, and along with our rulings. And we plan on actually putting rulings out to neighbors too, telling them what we have
Okay.
with our name on it with any issues.
Just a question for staff while I have the applicant up here. So is my understanding correct that if the number was violated and the city received a complaint, that would come back to our board to review, or how would that work?
It depends what kind of complaint it was.
That
It might
the
be.
number was, there were more people, more
It
adults.
probably would be a complaint. It could be a complaint to the inspections division. It could be a complaint based on their advertising stating that they allow more adults than they're allowed to. That would be factual information that then this staff could revoke their license based on that.
Oh, because it's not a condition of the permit, it's a
Right.
condition of the
license.
license. Okay.
So, I mean, the special use permit could be revoked as well if they're not meeting the stipulations of the special use permit. If the license is revoked and they don't have an operating license, the special use permit would go away after a year.
Okay.
So there is that. We try to staff to make sure that in the code that there are protections for the neighbors to be able to come to, if there's concerns where property definitely is not meeting the requirements, we tried to make sure the requirements were very clear and make it so that, and then the council also wanted to make sure there wasn't an overpopulation of these types of units in neighborhoods because they wanted to protect the neighborhood character. So that's why they implemented the 1,000-foot rule so that there could not be, you know, a whole street full of vacation lodging units. And then one person is their home and they're surrounded by something that's not what they intended to have. So we've tried to put in place protections. I'm sure there will be some people that don't follow the requirements of the code and that probably haven't even applied yet. I mean, that happens, but we'll do our best to make sure that the code is enforced.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we pretty much talk to everybody that comes in.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we've actually denied quite a few people.
Okay,
So, I mean, we have our stipulations. So, I mean, if they don't follow in with that, I mean, that was kind of a special case with the 16 or whatever. So, yeah.
okay.
So,
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you.
you bet.
Questions for staff?
I just wanted to, I think I've asked this before, but it's for adults. That does not include the children.
That's children.
Okay.
Okay, I have a question for staff. Then as I understand, your only mechanism for regulating the number of guests, adult guests, is complaint driven?
No, that's not correct. We'll have the opportunity to regulate it based on their advertising through Airbnb. If we see something advertised that doesn't comply, then that would be factual evidence to present the applicant with that they're not following the stipulations of the code. There will also be the opportunity for complaints. And some complaints may be substantiated and some it may be difficult to follow up on a complaint if it was something that happened 2 days earlier over the weekend and the people aren't there anymore. But we'll do, you know, inspections. We'll follow up on any complaints. Or if it's a loud party or something, which most of these applicants that we've seen have actually indicated in their materials that they don't allow loud parties. But if there was a loud party that happened to occur, that's something the police could be contacted and then they could document their response, so forth. So that's how we're kind of envisioning the enforcement.
Is there a requirement for all adult guests to sign some kind of register?
There is a register that's required. They must retain a register. They have to post a copy of their license by the front door, and the license will actually stipulate how many adult occupants are allowed, the maximum number of adult occupants and bedrooms. And it will also have the city's phone number and the property owner's phone number on that license right by the front door. So if the if the client has any concerns, they can follow up by contacting the city or the property owner.
But the individual guests don't have to sign a register when they check in.
It's just a guest register, and we don't stipulate that every guest has to
Okay.
sign in. But so we'll be able to more know how often during the year it was utilized based on that more than the number of guests from the guest register.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Can entertain a motion or discussion. I guess I just, given neighbors' concerns, wanted to go through the process if there were issues for neighbors.
Right.
But
Yeah, I mean, we're already putting a spotlight on all these now, so.
yeah, I see that the gentleman that spoke has raised his hand. I could, hold on one second. Would we like to reopen the public hearing?
I didn't hear us close it, but.
Ooh.
Okay.
Okay. So I can make a motion to reopen the public hearing for new facts or evidence not already discussed.
You need a second?
It's all right. I just wanted to make a comment.
Sure.
Dave Francis again, 2213 Fillmore. I just wanted to make a comment on what the gentleman before me had said. He said they hadn't got a hold of some recent people in the neighborhood. I'm 2 houses down. I bought my house 20 years ago. So I don't think I'm too recent. I didn't know about any of this until I got the letter from you guys. So nobody's approached us. So
Okay,
that's all I
thank
want
you.
to say. Thanks.
Now we're closing the public hearing again. Any other discussion, board?
I agree with the facts within and move that we adopt alternative 1.
Second.
That's a motion by Perkins, a second by Amar. Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Aye.
The motion is declared approved. Any person desiring to appeal this decision to court of record may do so within 30 days after the filing of this decision. The final item on the agenda is a special use permit for guest lodging to allow a vacation lodging use for the single-family property located at 2340 Storm Street within the residential low-density zoning district. Eloise.
I'm hoping that.
Uh-oh. Did it go to sleep?
She broke it.
Well, what I was hoping, it's not. Well, what I have on my screen that I will describe is a map of the all the guests. Aha!
Oh.
I am so glad Benjamin's here tonight. All right. It might be a little hard to see this part in black over here. But what this is this is a GIS map that has gone, it's now public. It's on the city's website, and it shows all of the guest lodging units that are have either made application or that have been approved. And so it has, the stars represent each kind by color. So, and then the ones that are subject to the 1,000 foot distance requirement are the ones with the circles around them and have a black star. So this is a live map that will change every time there's a new application or a new approval. And it will track that information for the public so the public can see what's happening. So this next item, and one reason I wanted to show this to you is the next item is located within one of these circles. It's located right about here on Storm Street. So I'll go through my report, but I wanted to let you know about that.
I'm glad
That
you have that map
tool.
available.
That's a great map.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have any of the SUPs because it only is triggered based on the license applications. So if it's an SUP that hasn't made application yet, if it's an SUP that's been approved and has not made application for a license, then it's not showing up just yet. But it is a necessary tool for us to be able to have that enforcement of the 1,000-foot rule going forward here shortly after the exemption period is ended. So this item before you is a special use permit for guest lodging to allow a vacation lodging use in a single-family detached home located at 2340 Storm Street. The site is located within the RL Residential Low Density Zoning District. The applicant is requesting approval of a 2-bedroom dwelling with all 2 bedrooms for guest lodging. And they did request for 4 adults, which is not consistent with the municipal code. So according to the municipal code, they can have a maximum of 3 adults in a 2-bedroom home. They will need to adjust their advertising to make sure it complies with the stipulations of the SUP and the license. The property has a 3-year letter of compliance already, it was just renewed in December, so it will not expire again until December of 2022. Although the zoning ordinance does not include any specific separation requirements, a 1,000-foot separation distance requirement will be applied during review of the license application. This is the first vacation lodging request that will be within 1,000 feet of another licensed vacation lodging use, and that use is at 504 Stanton Avenue, approximately 2 blocks to the north. This property did apply within the window of required time to be considered for an exemption. So if it does receive its special use permit, and then if they do then apply for their guest lodging license within 30 days, then they can be considered exempt even though they are within 1,000 feet of another unit. But as I mentioned, that opportunity is drawing to a close very quickly. Based on the findings and facts included in the staff report, staff does recommend approval. And I'll read alternative 1, which is our recommendation, that the zoning board of adjustment can approve this request for a special use permit for guest lodging at 2340 Storm Street to allow vacation lodging use in the RL low density zoning district by adopting the findings and conclusions noted above in the report, with the following stipulations reflective of the Ames Municipal Code guest lodging standards. Off-street paved parking spaces required are 2. And I didn't really talk about the parking, but there is ample driveway space for the 2 required spaces. And the driveway is already paved. Maximum number of guest bedrooms allowed is 2. Maximum number of adult guests allowed is 3. 1 year of disuse will render the special use permit expired and void. The special use permit is not transferable to any subsequent owner of the property. Additionally, operation of the vacation lodging use is subject to the requirements of the Ames Municipal Code, including the rental code and the guest lodging code. Receipt and annual renewal of a guest lodging license is required. Operation of a guest lodging use without an active guest lodging license is a violation of city code. And that concludes my report.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Is the applicant here and would they like to speak to this request? Sure.
I'm available for questions if you guys have, but I'm okay.
Are there questions would you like the applicant to answer? Not at this moment. Thank you. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak to this? Okay, we'll close the public hearing.
Question for staff.
Yep.
Why the odd number of adult guests in a 2-bedroom?
The number of adult guests aligns with what is required under the rental code ordinance. And so their letter of compliance with the rental code. So what we did for vacation lodging, since we required them to have the LOC through the rental code, is we felt it was important for the requirements to align with what's in Chapter 13 for the rental code. And so as you go through it and you see the other types, like bed and breakfast that also come before you, those requirements are different, but they're not subject to the rental code. So the council put in place a different number and calculation of adult guests and bedrooms for that use. So we were trying to make it easier, although it's a little bit, it doesn't feel easy to understand how the calculation works.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion or discussion? Oh,
I actually have a question.
sure.
Can I ask?
Yep, you're the applicant, right?
Yeah.
Okay. After you open the
Yeah.
public hearing.
Yeah.
Name and address, please.
Patty Engelman, and I live at 3312 Cedar Lane.
Do you
And
swear to
so,
tell the truth?
Oh, yes. So my question has to go along with yours. I understand we have other rentals, so I understand the rental code on that. But when you're advertising, if like on HomeAway or Verbo, they ask how many adults and then how many maximum guests. So we can put in 3 adults, but 4 maximum guests because they could have a child with them. On Airbnb, they only ask for maximum number of guests. So I am wondering if we can put in 4, and then right now it says 3, but that when people have search engines, it limits, they put in how many guests they have. It limits whether yours will come up and be useful, and it can sleep 4 in the beds because there's a king and a queen bed very comfortably. So a family that has 2 adults and 2 children, our home won't even show up on their search engine because of how they're looking at it. So the question is, can you put 4, and we have a stipulation in there in the description, 3 adults and up to a child, so maximum 4. Does that make sense?
It does. I think staff has an answer for that.
So
Certainly
you're
don't.
exactly right. That's how you should do it. In the text of the Airbnb, you should describe that the city requires, the city regulations will allow no more than 3 adults,
Okay.
but that you can sleep up to 4 people.
Okay, so I can
Because
put,
depending how many beds you have
right,
in those bedrooms and so forth as to how many you can sleep.
okay. So perfect. I can advertise on Airbnb then that we have 4 with the stipulation in there.
Right.
In the description.
Because Airbnb doesn't have a place to say adults. You have to
Right.
write it into your text.
Okay, perfect. That was my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Learned something.
I don't have a clue about any of this stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
Move alternative number 1.
Second.
It's a motion by Bowers, second by Perkins. Roll call vote. Aye.
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 The motion is approved. Any person desiring to appeal this decision to a court of record may do so within 30 days after the filing of this decision. Motion to adjourn
Eloise, do you have any more of these?
or questions?
So we can make sure that Ron gets one.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't bring any more tonight, but I could send one.
You can email me one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll email you,
Yeah, she-
or I'll have Jackie
Got this
email you.
cheat sheet that she handed out last week.
It's really a helpful tool. We all use it, and the planning staff uses it too.
Could we maybe just get one emailed in our next packet?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It'd be helpful to
Or
have an
even just-
electronic copy next time, or,
Or even just tomorrow, and then we have.
or tomorrow or whatever. Because my hard copy kind of got destroyed in my briefcase. I'll fess up.
We'll make sure that we send out an email with it to everybody.
It went into the briefcase of death, which happens sometimes.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Meeting's adjourned.
No discussion.